Hello and welcome to the Cryptocurrency News channel. If you want to join me on my live stream, check out my links below in the comments in the description. We're going to talk about some Bitcoin predictions and also I'm going to actually talk about why Bitcoin actually might drop towards the later half of this year, especially into August, September. And we're going to look at Shane D's prediction about what's going to happen for Bitcoin until maybe about 2022 and through maybe even throughout 2024 in the next cycle. And the thing is, I don't know if I 100% agree with this, but this does seem like a reasonable extrapolation. I personally think it's not going to take until the end of 2022 for us to moon, and I don't think the moon's going to be quite as high as 100K. But because coronavirus has delayed everything, there's going to be probably more pent-up hopium, and that actually might bring it up to 100K at the end of 2022 instead of the end of 2021, which is I'm looking at, because the virus has also slowed down a lot of development. So I do think Bitcoin might actually drop in Q3 or Q4 of this year, then have a little bit of and then slowly go up over the next year and a half or 2 years. And it might actually be mid 2022 instead of end 2021 that we see the bull run. I hope it's sooner, but I wouldn't really mind that. Right now, we are at around 9,000 or so. Right now, we're around 9,500 or so. And if you look at this graph here, his graph here, he thinks that by around maybe December 2020, we're going to drop to around 5,800. Now, a lot of you is like, oh no, we're out of it for good, the halving and all. That's actually not true. Generally, there has been a post-halving drop that we just haven't experienced yet. However, there's other reasons because Bitcoin has somewhat decoupled itself from the stock market. However, it's not completely immune to the effects of the economy. I do think that initial shock of the pandemic is what caused Bitcoin to drop a lot. And I think another shock will actually cause Bitcoin to drop a lot too. I'm not just talking about a second wave of coronavirus because that actually might happen. And if that happens, I do think people will be shocked and things will be cut short again, especially if it's in the winter where it's really cold. People don't really travel as much besides during that Christmas season. But the thing about that is, it's not only that, it's the fact that JCPenney is laying off people. They're filing for bankruptcy. It's the fact that Boeing just laid off people. It's the fact that a lot of mom and pop shops aren't coming back and they're just closing for good. And yeah, the last few days with basically the looting and the stealing has not actually helped at all. So there are a lot of people that are struggling to open up. And even in the next several months, there's going to be a lot of places opening up at half or a fourth of capacity. A lot of the local restaurants around here, many of them have closed. I know several Mexican restaurants that have closed. They're trying to get people to support local businesses, but restaurants that are traditionally dine in and sit down just haven't been able to make it to takeout because you don't really go and take takeout at a finer French restaurant. You sit down and dine and have a good time. And those restaurants are being extremely, extremely hurt, unfortunately. And there's not really much they can actually do. Like I said, they can actually go against the wave and try to open again. But I know that many of them have sold out. And the thing is, across America, mom and pop and small businesses, they account for about 50% of jobs. So there's a significant portion of that that's actually just going to be unemployed. And the thing is, if you try the unemployment lines, they freaking take forever. Many people just aren't getting them. So I think you're going to see a little bit more poverty, definitely, and definitely a lot more people on hard times on stuff like unemployment in the future. And also, since the unemployment offices aren't exactly efficient, they're going to be running out of money. So I do think people will be liquidating assets, and that will actually hurt crypto in the next half of this year. I still think in terms of economy, we're still in this euphoria stage where people are oh my gosh, we're recovering from it. It's all going to be okay. And then harsh reality is going to smack them and be nope. A lot of small businesses have lost jobs and a lot of big businesses are laying off people. And a lot of those retailers, those jobs aren't coming back because they've been just looking for an excuse to lay off people anyways. So I think you're going to get unemployment. People are going to see unemployment basically level off at 7-8%. They're going to they're going to ask what's going on. And then the realization is going to hit them that the economy isn't so good anymore. And I think at that point, there'll be a sudden pullback in crypto over a small amount of time. I think crypto will recover faster than the economy because a lot of like most cryptocurrency jobs, you can just work from home. And I think as the government tries to print our way out of this, I think like the increasing money supply will actually drive more people to crypto. So overall, like in the long run, I actually believe it's good. But in the short run, I don't actually, like the next few months, I don't really think it actually favors crypto that much, and I think we will have a pullback. Now, his next point's kind of interesting. The next point up to 19,800, or like rally to all-time high, and that's at the middle of 2021. Now, if you remember, middle of 2019, we actually rallied to 14,900. So what he's really predicting is another that type of rally to about 19,800. Now, I don't know. For me, I think if we get to around 20,000, people are going to start FOMOing in. Like if we actually hit 19,800, there is like a chance where his graph actually works, and it basically just like slides down slides down because people sell off at around what the last all-time high was just before 20,000, and we will go back down to like a drop to 9K by the middle of 2021. This is the beginning of 2021. He thinks we'll have a high of 19,800 after a drop to 5,800 in like September, which is what I just explained. Now, once people actually realize that, the economy isn't going to recover that fast, I don't really know how we're going to get to 19,800 by the end of this year. I don't think that's going to happen. But if you actually look at the last rally, we went to 14,000 basically for no reason because of whale play. And whale play could actually drive it to 19,800. And at 19,800, it's going to be like a fight between the FOMOers who think it's going to go up way, way more, and also the people who want to sell at 19,800. So his graph is actually saying that the sellers actually win. We start to go down, and we actually hit about 9K from taking profits in June of 2021. That's basically like a repeat of last cycle where we FOMO'd up to 14,000 and then dropped all the way down to 3,000. And then we went back up to 10,000 and we dropped back down to 5,000. So the next drop will be higher than the 5,800 drop at around $9,000 next June. And then like we're going to start slowly going up with ups and downs, a lot of volatility for people to actually make money. Around June of 2022, there's going to be this disbelief phase. And then all of a sudden it's going to skyrocket up to 100K. Now, I do believe the skyrocket will happen. My prediction it's probably going to stop around 50, 60K, but it's also probably going to happen around like end of 2021, about a year before this, or maybe mid 2022. So I see the price being a little more even than this during the go up, and then like all of a sudden a big thing like this. And then of course I do believe that it will actually go back down. Like I actually believe it'll hit maybe like 50, 60K and then drop maybe down to like 8 or 9K. He thinks it's going to go up to 100K and then drop down to around 16K. Both are actually reasonable projections. His timeline is just a little bit more expanded out than mine, and so therefore there's more like pent up frustration and FOMO. So the FOMO will actually be higher. I think it is a reasonable projection, and this is a graph that is actually worth looking at. Mine's just like shrunken more by like 8 months, and the spring isn't quite as high. I actually think this would actually benefit a lot of investors more, especially those who are basically going long term. But remember, even in his projection, you need to know when to sell out at 100K. If you hang on to it from 100K, it's going to crash back down to 16K, and all those alts are going to crash even harder with it. Because I don't think in this cycle, like anything's really going to overtake Bitcoin and replace it as the index. So like when we actually crash back down to 16K, a lot of those alts are going to lose like 95, 96%, and you're not going to have too much earnings from where right now if you don't sell off sometime during the upswing. So like I said, like definitely after 40, 50K, you should actually start DCAing out and taking your profits, especially if your alts have already gone up 20, 30x, because that's really good profit and you don't want to risk losing it all, because above that amount, it could actually collapse down at any time after the last FOMO. So that's kind of like my analysis of Shane D's like graph. I actually think it's a very reasonable graph. I'll actually link this graph in the description. I mean, not in the description, in the comment section, so you can take a look at it. It's pretty detailed. And I do believe that there's a decent chance of this happening. I just think it's going to be a little bit more shrunken. Probably like mid 2022 or end of 2021 would be the high. And I think the high is probably going to be 50, 60K. So that is my analysis for right now. Take a look at this graph. It's pretty cool. Thank you and have a nice day.